the European Court of Human Rights, there are two parallel kind of processes. There's one that Julian would apply for the entire handling of the case by the UK. He would ask the European Court to review on a large number of grounds, because it's been, frankly, a disgrace. But a separate process is the Rule 39 order, which is an emergency order. You ask the court to issue an order to the British government, basically, to stop the process of extradition. Because if Julian were to lose, if he had lost on Monday, there was nothing that could stop the extradition at that point, except for, if the UK government decided to do something, which clearly they're not minded to do, they wouldn't do. So the only hope would have been this Rule 39 order, which is very fast. It's only granted in extremely rare occasions where there's an immediate risk of irreparable harm. Of course, in this case, we have an immediate risk of irreparable harm. I'm confident that the European Court of Human Rights would, in fact, issue such an order because of the nature of this case and the stakes. And in fact, actually, I think it's important that the stakes have been ignored, and we've been kind of sold over the years that this is a process. And even inside the word process, it implies some kind of legitimacy. But there is no legitimacy in keeping a journalist in prison for over 5 years without conviction, and in relation to publishing information that was of the highest public importance, exposing the country that's trying to extradite him committing crimes.
Just to make things slightly more practical, in 2014, some staffers of WikiLeaks discussed here on a panel also about Julian, and what they said became part of the indictment. So it's not only
not
about
what they said.
Excuse me?
It was precisely, sorry, just to clarify. It was here in Republica in 2014, and this was like in the wake of the Snowden revelations. Republica had like a little subset of the conference about surveillance and what have we learned, what does this mean? And this part of the conference was in fact sponsored by a government, I can't remember the name, a government department about public education and debate. And so this debate was included in the indictment in a completely false claim. So we wanted to show you the video to contrast the wording of the indictment with the video, but there wasn't enough time, and I'm happy to share it afterwards so you can contrast. Basically what the indictment claimed was that Sarah Harrison, who was sitting here, the indictment claimed that WikiLeaks was trying to recruit hackers into giving information. You look at the video, and what she's talking about is about the value of archives in investigative journalism, and specifically of the +D archive publication in WikiLeaks, which was the diplomatic cables, plus other State Department cables that had been disclosed by the State Department itself via Freedom of Information Act requests. And the State Department basically released this information, but made it completely unsearchable. And so the +D archive, what it did was allow the largest library of US diplomacy that was already in the public domain to be put in a larger collection. And of course, this allows deep investigation and search for researchers, for journalists, and so on. She said that, and then they twisted it into a criminal act that has nothing to do with what she was saying. But this is why it's so important to understand that this case implicates Germany, everyone at Republica, everyone that's speaking at Republica, like, can maybe, you know, anyone can be subject to this kind of overreach to try to shut down political speech. Because think about it, that was a debate that was funded by the German government for open public discussion about surveillance. And then it's made its way all the way into the indictment against Julian.